a title. I'm going to say this is my demo transformation. Okay. And then you're going to have a body. And it's going to give you an end body. And then what you want to do is you want to tell the processor, oh, okay, let's go through and process all the rest of the data in the XML document. Because when we match on this, we interrupt the processing for the XML document. So how do we restart the processing? Well, with this XSL applied to templates. And it's hard to explain why yet. It'll come out in the lectures. But what that does is it starts the XSLT processor going through the input document, the XML document again, and searching for matches between the content it finds and the rules that are in the style sheet. Now, what we've done is we haven't put any other rules except this one, which is kind of ringer to get out our shell of an HTML page. And so what happens when we tell it to go visit the rest of the document is exactly what happened when we didn't have anything at all in our style sheet. When it goes and visits all the content in the input document, if it doesn't have a rule to match it, it simply burps the element content into the output. So if we run this one, okay, and again, to run this again, you go back to the XML document, and then you pick the my style transformation is already checked. So you say, I want to apply it. And this time it's going to do this again. So you're going to see this, okay? And it looks the same as it looked before, but if we actually look at the document, we're going to see we have a proper HTML document. Okay, so if we go and we look at output.html, we're going to see now we have a proper HTML document. Okay, so that's how you get that's the crudest way to get the data from the input, the XML document, into the output. You just take sort of the default processing, which takes all the text that's in the elements and flushes them out into the output. And then what we did is with this little rule here, we interrupted that process long enough to put out the beginning of an HTML page. This is the beginning of an HTML page. And then we said, okay, do all the processing, get all the stuff out there. And then we came back and put out the end of an HTML page, which is why, and to look at this, we have the beginning of an HTML page, right? And then it went through and it did process the whole input document, and it just burped all the element content right on out into the output, and then we put out the end of the HTML page. So when we do these things, what we're going to do is we're going to create a style sheet, but it's going to be more complex, okay? Instead of just allowing the processor to go through the content that's in the input document and say, well, I don't have any rules that match that. What we're going to do is that, just like we created this kind of dummy rule, we're going to create rules that match on the particular element names. And when we say, okay, when you get to the element name, then we're going to tell it the same kind of thing. We're going to tell it, okay, put out some HTML and some of the content. So if we did something like this, we could do, for instance, we just put in one rule before we quit. So template, let's say match equal, what's this thing called? Chapter? Chapter. Okay. So we got match equal chapter, and this is called chapter name. So we're going to say match equal chapter. Okay. And then we're going to say, what do we want to put out? We want to put out a paragraph. Okay. And then within the paragraph, we want to say in bold. We want to get the chapter name. So we do that with, we're going to learn in XSL value up, and we're going to say select equals chapter name. Okay. And so what we're going to get in each of the paragraphs is the chapter name. And we probably won't get the rest of the content. So let's go back here. And let's run the transformation again. And let's see what we got. Oh, we got them put into bold, not into italics, because I put them into a B. But here's what we got. We the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one. Okay. And then what we could have also said here is, okay, in addition to putting that stuff out, then I want you to put out the rest of the content that's in that part of the document. So we could say in XSL, apply templates in. And now what we're going to get is we're going to get a paragraph for each of the things, and we're going to get, once we run this transformation the first time, we can just click on the play button. Well, I said that, but that's not true. Sorry, I have to go over here and then click on the play button. And that's what we got. So we got this, which was exactly the title that we asked for, and then we got all the content that was in the paragraph, including the name of the institution. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff we're going to learn how to do, and we're going to almost always start the style sheet with this kind of thing that puts out the bones, the skeleton of an HTML page. And then we're going to write a bunch of other rules to catch just the elements that we want and to format them the way that we want by surrounding the values in the input doc that we pull from the input document with expressions like these, surrounding them with plain old HTML text. Okay?
That's
so
very...
that's what we're looking forward to for the next couple of weeks. And was that helpful?
Yes, that's very helpful. And actually, I recorded the screen so I can start working on my project. But my question is, where do we put the CSS? We put the CSS in the output HTML document, right?
Yeah. So let's say you want CSS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just would, you could either embed the CSS in the HTML page, or you could point to it. So how would you point to it? You'd point to it with a link, right?
Yeah.
Link. And you would say href equals mystyle.css, type equals, I think, text CSS, right?
Yeah.
something like that, and then something like that. Okay, and then you code up that that style sheet, and you have a style sheet.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you so
what I
much.
would do then is I'd be working on maybe 3 documents at the same time. I'd have the XML document open. I'd have the XSL transformation document open, and then I'd have the CSS style sheet open as well, and I'd be working on all 3 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sort of this thing that I did here, where it created the output sort of incrementally, right? I sort of said, well, I'm going to show you that I can get all the output from the page, first without any rules. And then I go, okay, now I'm going to put the skeleton of an HTML page. And then I said, well, then I can get you the name of each of the universities. I mean, that's typically how I develop them. I don't try to code up the whole thing at once. I try to walk to where I want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Step by step by step.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I would say, okay, I have quite a bit of that, and it's all unstyled. Now I want to attach a CSS style sheet. So let's see if we can get that attached and get this stuff to start to look like I want to. So then I would add that, and then I would go back to trying to get some more of my content out. And I would do this kind of interactively until I got to where I thought I was done. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
one thing I would not do is I would not try to code it all up and then try to key it in and make it work. I try to do it more experientially like we did here.
I see.
And when I do the lecture and then when I do the demo on the real thing, I'll take that kind of approach because that's how I think it works the best. Okay?
Okay, I'll start trying. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. And that gives you a little bit of a head start on the thinking for next week, even if you're not doing it for your project quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?